I want to welcome all of you to class today. This is the first of 3 lessons that will give you some background to selecting a topic for a problem solution essay. It also will go over some important skills of writing or knowing how to find information for a research paper. So today's lesson, just an FYI, if you are at home, all of the students have received a new unit booklet, some unit handouts, and finally a unit syllabus. If you are at home, you need to get a student. If you are on quarantine, make sure that you check with another student so that you can get these resources ASAP. If there's a problem with that, please send me an email and we'll work something out. So for your academic notes, I am actually recording this a couple days after the lesson. So for those of you who have not looked at the lesson, I want to tell you that the students in class actually used more than one box to take notes on all of these skills that you'll notice in the first white box on the left. So the first thing that I would like you to record in your academic notes is these 7 overall skills. These skills are not my skills, but they come from Salt Lake Community College. The skills that they want you to know how to do by the time you finish this unit. Learning how to write research papers is so critical to other classes in college. And so just copy these 7 things, and we will be using our time between now and winter break to cover these 7 skills. If you look at this screen, you'll notice that the first box, analysis, is what you did in paper number 2. You took one article and you broke it down, you analyzed it as to whether or not the writer accomplished his or her purpose, and you pick several angles to discuss the writer's purpose and whether or not it worked, like the bottom part of the analysis section. Unit 3 is just the opposite. You'll eventually have multiple sources. You're going to and by taking multiple sources, you will synthesize the information from multiple sources into one paper. If you have taken AP, about a third of the class last year was devoted to synthesis, so you should be really good at it. For a lot of you, I'm sure you've done a research paper somewhere and you know that you have to use multiple sources to compile one essay at the end. The next part of your academic notes, I'd like you to pick, if you are at home, I'd like you to pick one of these definitions. They come from higher learning, higher academics, and professional organizations. Pick one and define the word research. Then next, I'd like you to actually write the definition that's my favorite definition I've ever seen for research. This one came from one of my professors in my master's program at Utah State University. I want to go over that with you as you're copying it down in your academic notes. Isar Martinez said that research is a formal, systematic, intensive process of carrying on a scientific method of analysis. That might seem overwhelming, but let's just break it down into parts. The first part, he uses the word formal. So when it comes to research writing, we have to use an academic voice. We cannot write in we have to write in third person. We have to make our paper more academic. The next one, systematic. So whenever we're writing research papers, we follow some system. For this class, you will follow the MLA system. There are 2 other major systems, APA and Chicago Manual, and then a lot of minor systems to write research. But for most of your undergraduate studies, I would guess that you would be writing your papers in MLA. The next one, intensive. The word intensive is a perfect definition for research work because the work doesn't get done until you do it. It takes a lot of time and a lot of planning and following steps, which leads you into the next word. The word is process. It doesn't matter if you are writing a research paper for a middle school class or a graduate course in college. There is a process that you follow: selecting a topic, doing some background readings, finding appropriate sources, compiling information into a workable thesis sentence, and then figuring out an organizational plan to structure your information and weaving different sources into your writing as you write the paper. The next part is carrying on a scientific method of analysis. Just like science projects, you have a hypothesis. In a research paper, you have to have a thesis that drives what you're trying to prove to your audience. So I love that definition. The next one talks about 5 different types of research. Because of time, I'm not going to go into them in detail for you in this Screenomatic tape, but they all relate to professionals in different careers and how they actually use research. So if I could summarize these 5 things just in a big picture, research writing doesn't end after you have finished college classes or high school classes. Most occupations require you to conduct research at work. The next one, so why is research so critical at the university level? The university, one of the primary goals of being a college student is becoming intellectually curious. And if you look at those 5 components of what that means below it, you can see that at a college level, we must become more of an active learner rather than having someone feed us information, be able to work in small and large groups a lot more extensively, understand how to gather information from primary sources and secondary sources, recognizing what constitutes plagiarism and how my work is my intellectual property and other people's work is theirs. And finally, paving our way to learning what we want to learn, because ultimately our college experience, we get into it what we put into it. And you can have 2 people go to the same university and pay the same tuition cost, and by the time they graduate, they have 2 completely different learning experiences. The ones who come out ahead are the ones who invest the time and energy and passion to learning. So all of these are critical skills that relate to research. This slide will go over what our first 3 lessons will be in Unit 3. I picked 3 topics that interest me that would fit or work for a problem solution essay. And you'll notice at the bottom of this slide, I've written the words local, state, and national. By the time you are to day 4, I want you to have an idea of, I want you to select a topic and decide whether or not you want to approach that problem from a local, state, or national level. These next slides I'm using to model how to go about, for today, is how to go about selecting a topic and narrowing it down for a research paper. So my topic today is poverty. And if you look over these questions and numbers here, you'll see that the first one relates to a social class questionnaire that is a part of your extra handouts. This handout asks you to assess what it must be like living in a poverty, socioeconomic class, middle class, and an elite class, higher socioeconomic class. So you're going to fill that out. It's for your personal information and for you to think about what poverty is really like, not to turn into me so that I know what class you come from. If you look at number 2, I took the topic the way I would like you to think about your topic. So over my life, I've read a lot of novels, books, fiction and nonfiction that deal with poverty, and I've listed some of them in this list. And then I've actually included excerpts in your Canvas lesson. I want you to pause the tape, go to the Canvas lesson, and pick one of them and get a feel for this topic, poverty, from a voice, a writer who actually lived or wrote about poverty in a story format. The purpose of this exercise is for you to think about whatever your topic is. What do I already know? And that can come from experiences, that can come from readings, what you've studied in class. One of the things that I hope you don't do in this paper, however, is take the theme in your science class or your psychology class that you've already hashed over anyway. I'd like you to pick a social issue that you want to actually learn something new about, that you are passionate about. This slide is, I'm using this as a model to tell you how you can easily and without it being painful, learn more about your selected topic. So for poverty, what did I do? I actually went to some YouTubes and typed in the word and scrolled down and found something that interested me. And this is a way we can learn more about it through some media, social documentaries that you can find on YouTube, videos, things like that. And this one was one that was done about 7-8 years ago by Diane Sawyer. And she spent 2 years learning about some extremely poor people in the backwoods of Kentucky. And she turned it into an hour documentary. You can see from this slide that she earned an award for doing that. In class, we watched about 10 minutes. Some of the students said they want to go home and watch the whole thing. It's fascinating. So click on the link. It will take you to her documentary and spend some time learning a little bit about poverty, which is, again, what I want you to eventually do with your topic, gaining background in a non-painful way. Once you select a topic, then you need to learn how to narrow it down. All of you need to click on this article. This is done through an article at Slick College that teaches you how to narrow a topic that's manageable for a research paper. It's a really good article. Stop this video and go to the article and read it. This slide talks about why it's important that we narrow topics. Please read over it. And then finally, from this one, I actually took the topic and narrowed it down to something that would work for 5 to 7 pages. So if you look at this topic, it says, even though elite colleges like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale make a conscientious effort to recruit socioeconomically disadvantaged students, why is there still a distinct disadvantage from them once they arrive on campus? That gives me a good question that would drive my research. And when I find it, my college reader is going to learn something new. This leads us into your homework assignment. I'd like you to take a blank white sheet of paper and fold it in the hot dog way, the long way, and then from there, fold it the other way 3 times. So that you end up with, I think, 16 boxes. On the top side, you're going to take the word poverty and starting on the broad, we're doing it backwards from this one, from the right, or on the left-hand side, write poverty broad, and on the right-hand side, write poverty narrow. And I'd like you to come up with a research question and each time become more specific. There's an example that Stanford did on Proposition 8, so you can look at these, the yellow one and the green one, to come up with samples of how to narrow a topic. This is a paper in your handout. By day 4, I want you to come up with your topic and tell me what it is. You will fill out that paper on day 4. So for your homework, practice narrowing down poverty, start thinking about your topic, what you would like to do, and that's all for today. Good luck.